my mom sold my room while I was still sleeping in it. Sounds insane, right? But that's exactly how it started. I woke up in the middle of the night to some man banging on my door. I jumped up, flicked on the light, and there's my mom, standing beside him, calm as ever, saying, "Go ahead, take a look. The room's in good condition." I thought I was still dreaming. This random guy actually walked in, scanning my stuff, my clothes in the closet, my laptop on the desk, my bed where I had just been sleeping, and then he asked her, "Does it come furnished or not?" I snapped, "What the hell is going on?" And my mom, stone cold, didn't even look at me. "You're 28. It's time to leave the nest. I rented out your room. You're moving out tomorrow." And that was the first moment I realized, in my family, love has always meant control. You probably think this came out of nowhere. Like my mom just woke up one day, snapped, and decided to evict me in the middle of the night. But it wasn't sudden. It was years in the making. See, my mom has always treated me less like a son and more like collateral. Something to control, trade, or sacrifice whenever it suited her. Growing up, she wasn't the nurturing type. She was the type who made sure I owed her. When I was 10, I saved my allowance for months to buy a video game. The day I brought it home, she told me I was selfish, that my younger cousin wanted it too, and I should share. Sharing, in her dictionary, meant giving it away and pretending to be grateful. I never saw that game again. When I was 15, I got a part-time job washing dishes at a diner. First paycheck, $1.87. She took it. Said it was to cover groceries. Except we already had groceries, and the next day I saw her walk in with a new pair of shoes. She smiled and said, "You're contributing to the household now. That's what good sons do." When I turned 18 and started college, she demanded I give her access to my bank account for emergencies. Guess what the emergency was? Her car payment. Then her phone bill. Then my sister's shopping spree. By the time I realized I was being drained, I had to take out loans just to stay in school. And through it all, she had one golden rule: don't upset me. That was her mantra. Every time I tried to resist, she'd snap, ice me out, or even threaten to disown me. She knew exactly how to make me feel like a disobedient child, no matter how old I got. So when I walked in on that man touring my room like it was a Craigslist listing, I shouldn't have been surprised. It was just the next level of what she'd always done: take what was mine and call it hers. Still, this was different. This wasn't a pair of shoes or a paycheck. This was my space. My life. And she didn't even flinch when I yelled. She just crossed her arms and said, "You should be thanking me. Now you'll finally have a reason to move out instead of rotting in this house." Rotting. That was her word. I wanted to scream, to slam the door in her face, but I froze. Because deep down, some part of me was still that 10-year-old kid clutching a video game he'd never get to play. Some part of me still thought if I behaved, if I didn't cause a scene, she'd finally see me as worth keeping. Spoiler, she never did. That night, I didn't sleep. How could I? Some stranger had walked through my room like a buyer at an open house, and my mom had looked me in the eye and told me I had 24 hours to disappear. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the walls I grew up with, posters still tacked up from high school, stacks of books, my old guitar in the corner. All of it suddenly felt borrowed, like I was a guest in my own life. At 3 a.m., I heard her downstairs. Talking, laughing. Not on the phone, with him. The guy who had toured my room. My room wasn't even empty yet, and she'd already let him stay for coffee. Maybe more. I pressed my ear to the vent. Her voice carried. "He'll be out tomorrow," she said. "You can move in by the weekend." Like I was a package being shipped out, no return address. Something in me cracked. I packed a duffel bag, not everything, just the essentials: laptop, charger, a few clothes, the guitar. I left the rest. Maybe I wanted her to see it all, to understand she was throwing me out with my own history still attached to the walls. At dawn, she knocked on my door. Didn't wait for me to answer, just barged in. Good. You're packing. Smart for once. I stared at her. I'd never noticed how cold her eyes looked in the morning light. Why are you doing this? I asked. My voice sounded smaller than I wanted. Her reply was instant, rehearsed. Because I'm done carrying dead weight. You've had your chance here. You didn't become what you should have. Now it's time. What I should have been. That's always been her favorite accusation. Not who I am. Who I failed to be. She walked over, picked up the framed photo on my desk, me at my college graduation, cap crooked, her fake smile beside me. She tossed it face down without a thought. You'll thank me one day, she said. This is the push you need. Push. Like I hadn't already been clawing my way out of holes she dug for me. Like debt, manipulation, shame were stepping stones she'd generously provided. I didn't answer. Because for the first time in my life, words felt useless. She wouldn't hear me. She never had. By noon, I dragged my bag out to the curb. No hug. No goodbye. Just her watching from the doorway, arms folded, face set like stone. And when the Uber pulled up, she actually waved at the driver. Cheerful. Like this was a normal move, like she was just sending me off to summer camp. I didn't look back. I couldn't. But here's the thing, leaving didn't feel like freedom yet. It felt like exile. And exile has a way of following you, even when you think you've escaped. I didn't have a plan when I left. Just a duffel bag, a drained phone battery, and a sense that I'd been shoved off a cliff with no parachute. The Uber dropped me downtown. I told the driver to stop near the bus station, even though I wasn't planning on taking a bus. I just didn't want to go anywhere she might find me. I sat on a cracked plastic bench with my bag between my knees, staring at people rushing in and out, all of them with destinations, all of them with someone expecting them. I had no one. At least that's how it felt. I called 3 friends. None picked up. Left one voicemail, my voice shaking. Hey, it's me. Just, if you've got a couch for a night, call me back. Hung up before I could explain. Explaining felt too humiliating. By evening, my phone finally buzzed. It was my cousin, Leah. We hadn't spoken in months, my mom had made sure of that, feeding her stories about how I was unstable, lazy, unreliable. Still, Leah's message was simple, you can crash here tonight. I'll text the address. I almost cried reading it. Not because it solved everything, but because for once someone didn't ask for details before offering help. When I got to her apartment, Leah opened the door barefoot, hair tied up, no questions at first. Just a hug. The kind of hug that cracks something inside you. I didn't realize how tense I'd been until I felt myself sag against her shoulder. Let me guess, she said when I finally pulled back. Your mom. I nodded. She sighed like she'd been expecting this day for years. You're not the first. And you won't be the last. That sentence haunted me. Not the last. How many others had she burned through? Relatives she cut off, siblings she drove away, neighbors she turned into enemies. My mom had a gift for destruction, wrapped in the language of love. Leah let me use her shower, gave me an old t-shirt, and reheated leftover pasta. I sat at her tiny kitchen table, eating like someone who hadn't seen food in days. She finally asked, what did she do this time? I told her. About the man in my room. About being evicted overnight. About how my mom called me dead weight like I wasn't even human anymore. Leah didn't look shocked. Just tired. She sold your space to someone else while you were still in it. Yeah. That's her. Something in the way she said it made me freeze. What do you mean, that's her? Leah glanced at me, her fork tapping the plate. Because she's done it before. To me. And just like that, the floor shifted. Leah leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, watching my face as if she wasn't sure how much truth I could handle. She did it to me when I was 19, Leah said. Not the exact same way, but close enough. I blinked. What do you mean? She took a breath, then laid it out. I was living with her for a while, your mom, because my parents split, and I didn't want to choose sides. She said I could stay as long as I needed. For a few months, it was fine. Then one night, I came home from work, and there was another girl sleeping in my bed. A total stranger. Mom just shrugged and said, "Oh, I promised her the room. You'll figure it out." Like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. I stared at her, my stomach sinking. And you left. What choice did I have? Leah's laugh was hollow. I slept on the couch for a week, until she started making comments about me being in the way. I packed a bag and never went back. It was like hearing my own story, except a decade earlier. The pattern suddenly snapped into focus. She didn't just push people out of her life, she replaced them, as if swapping furniture in and out of a house. She's always been like this, Leah continued. You just didn't see it because you were the golden one. The one she paraded around. The one who made her look good. I shook my head. Golden one? She's been draining me for years. Exactly, Leah said. That's how she shows favoritism. She uses you until you're empty. Then, when you can't give any more, she paints you as a failure and moves on to the next victim. Trust me, I know. The words hit harder than I wanted to admit. Suddenly, so many moments from my childhood made sense, the times she pitted me against cousins, the way she bragged about me in public but tore me down in private, how every achievement of mine was framed as hers. She doesn't see people, Leah said quietly. She sees resources. And when a resource runs dry, she throws it away. I sat there gripping my glass of water like it was the only solid thing in the room. So what happens now? Leah shrugged. Now? She'll spin it. She'll tell the family you abandoned her. She'll paint you as ungrateful. And they'll believe her. Because they always do. My chest tightened. I wanted to argue, to say no, they'll see the truth. But I knew Leah was right. My mom had decades of practice rewriting history. Leah reached across the table, her hand brushing mine. Listen. You can't stop her from lying. But you can stop giving her the power to define you. For the first time in hours, I felt air fill my lungs properly. But then Leah added one last thing, her eyes steady on mine. You should also know, she called me last week. Asking if you'd finally cracked. I think she's been planning this longer than you realize. Leah's words wouldn't leave my head. She called me last week. Asking if you'd finally cracked. That meant this wasn't impulsive. My mom hadn't just woken up one morning and decided I was dead weight. She had been setting the stage. Preparing her narrative. And sure enough, the next morning, my phone lit up with notifications. Missed calls. Texts. A flood of messages from relatives I hadn't heard from in months. What did you do to your mother? She says you threatened her. You've always been unstable, but this, wow. Every message punched harder than the last. She had already poisoned the well. Leah grabbed my phone and scrolled through the messages, shaking her head. Classic. She doesn't just kick you out, she makes sure the whole family sees you as the problem. That way, when you try to tell your side, no one believes you. It was déjà vu. When I was 13, she'd convinced everyone at a family reunion that I'd stolen money from her purse. In reality, she had taken the cash herself to cover a shopping trip, then blamed me when people asked why she was short. I spent the whole night being side-eyed by aunts and uncles, while she played the martyr. Now, she was running the same play, just on a bigger stage. That evening, I got a voicemail from my uncle. His voice was sharp, clipped. Your mother's heartbroken. She told us you screamed at her, called her names, even threatened to hit her. What the hell is wrong with you? I almost dropped the phone. Threatened to hit her? I hadn't even raised my voice past disbelief. She had rewritten the entire night like a novelist drafting a tragedy, with herself as the fragile victim and me as the villain. Leah poured me coffee and slid the mug across the table. You have two choices. You can spend the next year chasing her lies, trying to prove yourself. Or, she paused. You can let her drown in her own story. My hands shook around the mug. But if I don't defend myself, everyone will think she's right. Leah's eyes met mine. They already do. That's the point. She's been building this version of you for years. Unstable. Angry. Ungrateful. This just gave her the finale. I didn't answer. Because deep down, I knew she was right. My mom wasn't just evicting me from her house, she was erasing me from the family's memory, rewriting me as the scapegoat. Later that night, as I tried to sleep on Leah's couch, my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a relative. It was her. One text. Just 9 words. You'll regret this. Family doesn't betray family like you did. I stared at the glowing screen, my chest tight. For once, I didn't reply. But something told me this was only the beginning. I thought ignoring her would kill the fire. That if I stayed quiet, her storm would pass. But with my mom, silence isn't peace, it's gasoline. Within days, the smear campaign spread beyond family. Old neighbors messaged me on Facebook. A childhood friend I hadn't spoken to in years wrote, "Your mom says you attacked her? What happened to you?" She wasn't just rewriting history, she was publishing it, casting me as the villain in a play I never agreed to star in. And the worst part? People believed her. Because she sounded so fragile, so broken. Who would lie about being hurt by their own child? Leah watched me pace the living room, phone in my hand like it was radioactive. You can't out-talk her, she said. She's been rehearsing this role for decades. If you want the truth to come out, you need evidence. Her words lodged in my head. Evidence. I thought back to that night. The man in my room. My mom's voice, cold and steady, "You're dead weight." It hadn't just been me who heard it. That guy, whoever he was, had witnessed the whole thing. He'd seen me standing there, stunned, while she sold me out. But how the hell was I supposed to track him down? Then it hit me. Security cameras. My mom had installed them years ago, supposedly for safety, though in reality she used them to spy on neighbors and lecture me if I came home too late. If the cameras were still running, maybe they'd caught everything. Leah's eyes widened when I told her. If you can get that footage, it changes everything. That night, against every instinct, I drove back to the house. My hands were sweating on the steering wheel. The porch light was off, but her car was in the driveway. She was home. I crept around the side, heart hammering, and spotted the little red glow of the camera by the garage. Still active. Still watching. I knew the DVR box was inside the living room cabinet. If I could just. The front door creaked open. "Thought you'd come back," she said. Her voice sliced through the dark like a blade. I froze. She was standing there, arms folded, as if she'd been waiting. "You think you can take my footage?" she sneered. "You think anyone will believe your version over mine? I'm your mother." The word mother landed like a curse. For the first time in my life, I didn't cower. I didn't explain. I didn't beg. I just looked her in the eye and said, "Then you shouldn't be afraid of the truth being seen." Her face twisted. For a second, I thought she might actually hit me. But instead, she whispered something that chilled me more than any scream. "You'll regret making me your enemy." And then she slammed the door. I drove away that night with my hands shaking so hard I almost veered off the road. Her words kept echoing, "You'll regret making me your enemy." The next morning, Leah found me hunched over her kitchen table, dark circles under my eyes, scrolling through forums about home security systems. I knew my mom, she wouldn't destroy the footage, not right away. She loved keeping trophies of her victories. The DVR was her proof of control. Leah leaned over my shoulder. If she still has it, you need to get it. Before she realizes how valuable it is. I called an old friend, Sam. We hadn't talked in years, but back in college, he was the guy who could hack anything, fix anything. When I explained, his voice was skeptical at first. Man, this sounds messy. It is, I admitted. But she's destroying me. I just need the truth. By that evening, Sam was at Leah's apartment with his laptop and a tool bag. If the cameras are Wi-Fi based, I might be able to pull the footage remotely, he said. But if it's local storage, you'll need physical access. My stomach dropped. Physical access meant going back into the lion's den. We tried remote access first. Sam typed like lightning, tracing IP addresses, breaking into the feed. Finally, a frozen screen appeared. My old driveway. A timestamp. My heart skipped. It was the night she threw me out. Rewind, I whispered. And there it was. The man entering my room. My mom's voice, clear as day, go ahead, take a look. Then me, stumbling out of bed. Then her cold decree, you're dead weight. Sam exported the file, burned it onto a USB, and slid it across the table like it was a weapon. There. Now you've got ammo. Leah exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. This is it. This proves everything. But proof changes nothing if no one sees it. The next morning, after almost no sleep, I opened the family group chat, the same one where my mom had been painting me as violent and unstable. I didn't write a paragraph. I didn't defend myself. I just uploaded the video. No caption, no explanation. Just the raw, ugly truth. Within minutes, the chat exploded. Messages poured in. Wait, is this real? She said he attacked her. This shows the opposite. A cousin wrote, she kicked him out while he was still in bed? Then, silence from my mom. Not a word. Not a single line. But 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A private message from her. Take it down. Now. You don't know what you've started. For the first time in my life, I smiled at her words. Because finally, she was the one afraid of being exposed. The video spread faster than I imagined. Within hours, it leaked outside the family chat. A cousin shared it with a friend, who dropped it on Facebook. By the next morning, half the extended family had seen it, and some neighbors too. The comments rolled in like waves. That poor kid. She really said that to her own son? I knew something was off about her. It was surreal. For years, she'd been the one controlling the narrative, twisting every situation until I was the problem. Now people were seeing her raw, unedited. No excuses. No spin. Just the hammer blow of her cruelty, immortalized on video. But exposure doesn't always bring peace. It brings chaos. My uncle called me, his voice shaky. Listen, she's been calling everyone. Begging them not to believe what they saw. Saying you doctored the footage. I laughed bitterly. She's predictable. But then he added, she's also saying you're dangerous. That you'll come after her now that she's vulnerable. That cut deeper. She wasn't just lying, she was escalating. Painting me as a threat, as if I'd turn violent at any moment. It was the final smear, the nuclear option. Leah overheard the call. When I hung up, she crossed her arms. She's spiraling. And people are starting to see it. Let her dig her own grave. Except my mom didn't go quiet. She showed up. 2 nights later, there was a knock on Leah's door. Hard. Relentless. I froze, but Leah opened it before I could stop her. There she was, my mom. Makeup smeared, hair wild, eyes blazing. How dare you humiliate me like this, she hissed. Do you have any idea what you've done? I stood up slowly, my chest tight but steady. I didn't do anything. You did. I just pressed play. She stepped closer, finger jabbing the air between us. Family doesn't betray family. The irony almost made me laugh. You sold my room while I was still in it. You called me dead weight. That's not family. That's ownership. And I'm done being owned. Her face twitched, anger, desperation, maybe even fear, but she masked it with a bitter laugh. You'll regret this. Everyone turns eventually. You'll end up alone. Leah stepped between us, voice sharp. No. He won't. Not this time. For a moment, the three of us just stood there. The silence was heavier than her threats, heavier than years of manipulation. She wanted me to flinch, to fold like I always had. But I didn't. Finally, she spat on the floor, turned on her heel, and stormed off into the night. The door slammed. And for the first time in my life, I realized something terrifying and freeing all at once: her power over me was gone. After she left, the apartment was silent except for the faint hum of Leah's fridge. My heart was pounding, but not out of fear, out of relief. I had faced her. And I hadn't broken. The next morning, my phone was quiet for the first time in weeks. No smear texts, no frantic voicemails. Just stillness. It didn't last, of course, nothing with her ever does, but the shift was undeniable. Word spread in the family group chat that she'd gone dark, stopped answering calls. Some believed the footage, others clung to her excuses. But for once, their opinions didn't feel like chains around my neck. Because the truth wasn't theirs to decide anymore. It was out there, unfiltered, undeniable. Leah poured me coffee and sat across from me. So, what now? She asked. I thought about it. About all the years I'd spent being her scapegoat, her resource, her proof of power. About how many times I'd replayed conversations in my head, wishing I'd had the guts to stand up for myself. Now I finally had. I cut her off, I said. Completely. No calls. No money. No explanations. She's out of my life. Leah smiled softly, like she'd been waiting to hear that. Good. That's how you start over. That night, I sat on the couch scrolling through my phone, hovering over the family group chat one last time. Dozens of unread messages blinked at me. Accusations, defenses, pity. All noise. I left the group. No announcement, no speech. Just one click. It was like slamming a door, but gently. Over the next weeks, I started piecing my life together. Leah let me stay until I found a place of my own. I picked up extra shifts, sold the guitar to cover rent, bought cheap furniture off Craigslist. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. And every time I closed the door of that little apartment behind me, I felt something I hadn't in years: safety. Of course, she tried to claw her way back. A letter slipped under Leah's door. A voicemail with crocodile tears: "You'll regret this. I'm still your mother." I didn't answer. Not once. Because here's what I finally understood: being family doesn't give someone the right to destroy you. Blood isn't a contract. It isn't a leash. It isn't a lifetime subscription you can't cancel. Family is supposed to mean love, safety, protection. And if it doesn't, if all it means is control, lies, and betrayal, then it isn't family. It's just another cage. I'm free now. Not healed, not whole, but free. And freedom, even messy, broken freedom, tastes better than any approval she ever dangled over my head. Sometimes, the only way to win is to walk away, and never look back.